Hey everyone, Matthew here, and it's a beautiful day in Maryland, so I decided to come outside and walk through my local cemetery to talk about something that I haven't seen a lot of videos on the internet about, and that is buyer's regret. So buyer's regret is this sinking feeling that you may or may not get after purchasing a watch. It may be a watch that you've had your eye on for a while. It may be a watch that you purchased sort of out of the blue, maybe you haven't put much thought into. But whatever it was, you spent the money and you grabbed the watch, and now you sort of regret it, which is really unfortunate because watch collecting is a passion. It's a hobby. Sometimes people on the internet will use the term they're addicted to watch buying. I don't know if that's good, but for sure this is a hobby, an activity that should be filled with joy, and you should get what you spent your money on. It should return some reward. So if you're having this emotion of regret, that is what I wanted to make a video about and talk about today. And in particular, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think the causes are, and then some solutions to how to avoid this and get the most money and value and just enjoyment from purchasing watches in your collecting career. And this can apply to anyone. So I have personal experience collecting with buyer's regret, having only collected a few watches. In fact, the very first watch I bought, I regretted. And I'll get into that a little bit more after talking about some causes. But I did want to share that you don't have to have 100 watches, you don't have to have 10. You may only have 2 watches, and this video could apply to you. So hang on and we'll get right into it. So the root cause of buyer's regret is that we purchase a watch that doesn't align with what our identity is. So we have this idea of ourselves, who we think we are, who we want to be, and the watch that we wear on our wrist largely is a reflection of that. So for a great example is the Seamaster from Omega that James Bond wore. They're James Bond themed Seamasters explicitly. Many people purchase this watch because they want to be like James Bond, myself included. This is one of the grail watches that I have. I love James Bond and I would love to own it, and because I want to be like him. It's a version of myself that it's someone that I see myself being, and my identity aligns with what I want from my watch. Now, perhaps talking about identity is a little bit abstract. Like, I get that. Who are we? Who am I? Like, that's a question I ask myself far too often, and I don't have the answer. But to be a little bit more concrete in terms of how we can apply this to buying a watch so that we don't end up with buyer's regrets, I want to talk about a couple areas, and that is the style of the watch that we purchase, the price of the watch, and the features of the watch. So starting with the style of the watch and aligning that to our identity, I think that if you purchase the wrong style of the watch, that for the identity that you're looking for the person that you wish to represent yourself as, this is a very easy way to go wrong. And so, for example, one of the first watches I purchased was the Seiko STX, and this is a diver style watch with a rotating bezel with large loomed hands, and it came on a Jubilee bracelet, and so I thought it was a good all-around sort of one watch collection watch because I could wear it as a dress watch. It was definitely a sporty style watch, but the style of the watch was quintessentially diver. And I did find that over time, the diver style watch did not align with my perspective on what a dress watch should be. It is a functional tool watch that I purchased with 200 meters of water resistance. And I did end up going snorkeling with it, not quite diving, but I did get the ability to use the features of what the watch was built for, and that is a diver's watch, more or less. But that being said, I found that over time, I really thought that the style of the watch didn't align with how I often wore it, and that is in dress settings. And that I was looking for more of a quintessential dress watch than the diver style watch, the watch that I purchased. So this is the first area that I think people can experience buyer's regret. Perhaps they're motivated to purchase a watch for some idea of what the watch is, based on the style, maybe the hype, it seems really interesting. But when they purchase it, the style doesn't quite align with who they thought they wanted to be. And so that is one area to avoid. The second area to avoid is the price of the watch. Now, I have grail watches out there. I have not purchased them yet. And one of the reasons that I'm a little bit nervous to purchase them, besides just the large amount of money that it requires, and to be specific, I'm thinking about like an Omega or perhaps even a Rolex one day, but that would be, in the future with all of Rolex's weightless and whatnot. But before I purchase the Grail watch, I often think about if the value of the watch aligns with my position in life. Like, I purchased the watch, but the watch ultimately is purchasing a little bit of me, right? Like, how do I give back to something as valuable and as, prestigious as something like an Omega or a Rolex? And I just feel that I'm not in a position to yet. I think that with time, I will be able to do justice to a watch, and that this is more motivating for me to purchase a watch like that. So thinking about, a two-way relationship, we purchase the watch, but the watch also purchases a little bit of us. And it's good to remember that, if we can give back to the watch in some way, either by daily wearing it or wearing it to nice events where it's appropriate to wear that style and the value of the watch, things like that, I think that is important. And, as a concrete example, I did have a friend who purchased a Grail watch. It was a Cartier Santos two-tone. It was about $10,000, and he struggled after purchasing it to ever wear it, and sort of questioned why he purchased it, because it was this large sum of money for him, and it's a large sum of money for, I think, most people, and he really struggled with purchasing it. Like, I don't want to quite say buyer's regret, because the watch did maintain its value. It was something that in the future, he'd come back to in years, but he definitely purchased it, I think, too early, in that he didn't have a way to sort of engage with the watch. He was scared of scratching it, and this is like something that I really hope to avoid. Like, if I'm going to purchase a watch, I really do want to get value for it and not regret or have to wait, until I'm, much older or in a different position in life to get value out of the watch. I think that is something important to remember. And lastly, another reason I think people experience buyer's regret when purchasing a watch is that they place too much emphasis in a particular feature of what the watch offers. So I remember there was this Seiko that had the rotating bezel. It was a Seiko Alpinist, and I was really attracted to that watch because it had this special feature. And just last week I was looking at a Hamilton khaki field automatic with a power reserve indicator, and I wanted to buy this watch because the power reserve indicator was like the best feature that I needed that was keeping me back from purchasing the manual style watch that they were offering. But then I took a step back and I said to myself, am I purchasing the watch for what the watch is, or because it has this particular feature? Am I purchasing the khaki field automatic because it's a great khaki field style watch at a great value from a great brand, Hamilton? Or am I purchasing the watch just because it has this new feature of the manual power reserve indicator on the dial? And, when I thought about it, I really said to myself, I'm placing too much emphasis on a particular feature of the watch. I need to look at the watch more holistically. Do I want to purchase a field watch? And is this the style of field watch that I want to purchase, regardless if it has all of the features that I want or not? And ultimately, I haven't quite pulled the trigger of whether or not this is a watch for me, but it helped me reevaluate how I was going down a path mentally, approaching a watch in a way that I might have experienced buyer's regret had I pulled the trigger for those reasons. So maybe you purchase a watch and you're no longer wearing it, but you don't quite know if you have buyer's regret. So I want to talk about what some of the symptoms are for how you can pinpoint exactly why you're not wearing that watch, perhaps why you are experiencing buyer's regret and what buyer's regret even feels like. So from personal experience, the first watch that I purchased was about the cheapest automatic fancy watch that I could purchase online. And it was from this little-known company called Scour, and it was some mass-produced, gold-toned, overly large dress watch from, I think, a company that manufactured watches in China. And I remember owning this piece, and the second I got it, I knew something was wrong, because I didn't have a lot of money, and this was my first mechanical watch that I purchased. And as soon as I put it on, I realized that the manufacturing was just not there. Like, the dial was just overly large, the case was huge. While it was a mechanical watch, it was just so over the top in terms of design, like something my grandfather would wear, for instance, that I just saw myself, I realized that I could really never wear this, except a few cases. And one of the cases was the Las Vegas Strip when I was on vacation. I was like, this is the only place I can wear this watch, which is a little bit ironic because for how cheap and glitzy the watch was, it sort of almost exactly fit with the cheapness and the artificiality of what the Vegas Strip was. So that was the story of owning that watch, and it came to a sad end because I did drop the watch and it immediately stopped ticking. It was completely broken, and I ended up just tossing the watch quite soon after. Which I would say, after owning this watch, going through the experience of buyer's regret was when I actually began my watch collecting journey. It wasn't until I bought my Seiko SKX that I really began to see myself as a watch enthusiast and someone who get past, the initial temptation of buying a watch just for like what it looked like or for some fad or what I thought my idea of what the watch was and who that watch would be. I started buying watches for who I was and what I wanted. So I thought that was a little bit anecdotal story. But, some of the symptoms of buyer's regret are when you have this sinking feeling of like what you saw as value in a watch no longer is valuable to you. So perhaps it's that feature that you purchased. Perhaps it's the brand. Perhaps it's the perceived rarity or exclusivity of owning the watch that you have then purchased that is just no longer there. It's this mental switch from something that you value to something that becomes no longer valuable to you. So I've talked a lot about experiencing and identifying and what buyer's regret is when purchasing watches. But now I want to switch gears a little bit and offer some hope. Like, what are some solutions to how you can avoid purchasing a watch that you're going to regret before you purchase it? And once you own that watch, how to avoid sort of regretting buying it if you've already purchased it, and like ways that you can get more out of your watches in general, as a as a collector or as a hobbyist or someone who just has a passion for the hobby. And the first thing I want to start with is that your watch should serve a purpose for you. So like, if you can look at yourself and ask, what does this watch provide for me? Is it some sort of like, can you wear this as a dress style watch? Is this a tool watch, a diving watch? How is that watch serving some purpose in your collection and in your life? Like, how can you engage with this watch, I guess? And that doesn't have to be as specific as, no diver can own a dive watch, or if you're not like in business or never really dress up, you can never own a dress watch. It can be like more general that maybe you really like to have a watch with a white dial, and that white dial like provides something in your collection, or you wear it particular days of the week, or you just like the appeal of owning a watch with a white dial. Maybe you want to own a watch with a white dial and a black dial in your collection, so this is something you can add. Maybe you want to just own like a tool watch in case you ever need it on vacation, or you're ever in the ocean, or find yourself with a very capable watch that can experience water resistance, right? This is a perfectly valid reason for wanting to purchase a dive style watch, for instance. Maybe you want to add a dress watch to your collection if you're only ever going to wear it maybe one time to like your own wedding or something. This is a valid reason. But the one-time only watch is a little controversial, I think, just because you can't continue to engage with it after your wedding, right? It's going to sit in your collection collecting dust, and so maybe that's not the best reason. But if you do find yourself, wanting to continually own a dress style watch, maybe it's time to get one, and then having that in your collection serves your purpose. Another great question you can ask yourself when purchasing a watch is, where do you see this watch and even yourself in 10 years? This is the single most useful question I ask to avoid purchasing watches that I just have an impulse buy, right? So there are some really cool watches that I like and that I'm really appealed to and I really would like to purchase in the moment. But when I think about it, overnight, when I give it like at least a day, and then I ask myself, where is this watch in my collection, and who do I see myself wearing this watch in 10 years? And the answer is almost not for me, right? So just because a watch maybe has like this real appeal in the moment, or you may have this real impulse or urge to purchase a watch because it looks really cool, asking yourself the question, does this style, does this age well with me? Does this align with my identity long term? Does this align with who I think I will be in 10 years? And if the answer is no, then this can be an easy test to avoid purchasing a watch that you will regret. If you do find yourself purchasing a lot of watches, or at least have the urge to purchase a lot of watches, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's good to remember that a watch collection isn't just about the watches that you purchase, it's also about the watches that you don't purchase. Right? You can make a statement by avoiding particular brands or trends or styles of watches that you don't think align with who you are or your collection. And your collection doesn't have to be as specific to a particular brand, style, or function of a watch, like tool watches or dress watches. It can be whatever you want. It can be the watches that you wear and suit your purposes in everyday life. But it's important to remember that I don't think every watch that you want to purchase is going to do that for you. And that can be a really important fact, to think about when you're trying to form a collection of watches. So sort of ask yourself, like, just because I think watches are cool in general, maybe they don't belong in the collection that I am trying to build or serve a purpose or function in my life. Like, you can love a watch and the idea of a watch for what it is, but it might not align with you having to buy it, right? Your collection. So this is something that I like to think about as well when trying to form, right, my own watch collection. Like, what are the boundaries? What are the watches? What is the criteria I use to guide how I'm going to purchase the watch that I want to add to my collection? And even if I like a watch for what it is very much, if it doesn't meet the criteria of what I'm looking for in a collection, then I don't think it's the right watch for me. All right, let's start with this video. So to conclude, I think it's important that collecting watches isn't about what comes next or what the next watch is or how you can grow your collection, but about enjoying the watches that you have in your collection and how best you can get value out of them, right? This will prevent you from always, wanting to purchase another watch, or this feeling that your collection isn't good enough, or that you're not good enough, or that watch collecting is only for the rich. But even if you have only one or two pieces, right, I think this is enough to qualify yourself as a watch enthusiast, as a watch collector, as someone who's into watches. And so, just as a reminder that, as I walk through the cemetery, right, it's important not to go through life with regrets. And so that's kind of the theme or the motif of this video, I think, is that, you want to get the most out of what you have and how you can enjoy it. And so I wanted to share a few words, and maybe I'll end on this note that anyone can be a watch collector with any really amount of watches they have, and there should really be no regrets with what they can or cannot purchase. And being able to give to your watches, I think, is also important for getting value out of them. Being in a position where you feel that you can appreciate them, the watch is appreciated, is something that I think is important. So with that, I will wrap up this video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, my name's Matthew. See ya. I just want to say, cemeteries are so peaceful. This one has paths where you can walk around with benches and gardens. There's even a little pond with some geese in there. I was trying to avoid because they were making a lot of noise. If you haven't been to a cemetery recently, it's my recommendation. Here, geese, here.